So I'm just gonna go over a few options for ground and pound. It's really hard sometimes to get your strikes off, especially against a good player on bottom. If he knows how to defend well, wrap you up, control your arms, get overhooks, it could be hard to get off some meaningful shots. So I'm gonna give you a few options that you can use to get some damage, win some fights. So a lot of times when you're in guard, I see a lot of guys, they stay on their knees, and it's really hard to get powerful shots off when you're just punching from here. So first off, if you're gonna throw an elbow or a punch, you should be posted at least on one leg, so that when you drop down a punch or an elbow, you're able to put your hips into it and throw a strike with some power on it instead of just pitter-patter shots from here. Also, guys are always gonna be posting on your arms and blocking your shots. So you have to think of it as if you're boxing or striking on your feet. When you're striking on your feet, you're always moving your head off the center line, you're throwing shots down the middle, you're coming around with bigger shots. One option I like to use if you're postured up is to get my head off the center line and throw a shot down the middle, right? And so here you're aiming for the chin, but if you're gonna throw hooks or overhands, you have to aim for the top of the head or the back of their head or even their ear. So when you throw a shot down the middle, you want to pretend or act like there's a tree here or like a big pole, and you want to bring your punch all the way around that pole. So look, I throw that shot down the middle, I switch my hips. Now I'm aiming for the back of his ear, and you have to realize they're not just going to stay there flat. They're going to be bridging their hips and trying to get away from your shots. So as I punch, I have to kind of aim where he's going. All right, so I throw that punch down the middle, right? I drop my hip, I switch my legs. When I come around with the hook, I have to aim for the back of his head. If I aim for his chin and he bridges his hips, I'm gonna fall short every time. So if I aim for the back of his head and he bridges his hips, I land. I'll bridge your hips a little more. I land on his chin, and that's where I'd like to land. That causes knockouts. Obviously, I would like to cause damage and cut him up, but if I can rattle his brain, you know, that's even better. So, and that's the same thing. You drop your hip as you punch so that you're getting good force into it. The last one, if you're postured up, is like an overhand. You want to come over you want to come straight over. You don't want to come around like a hook, because he just puts his arms up. It's really hard to get shots through. So when you come over your head, he doesn't see it till the last second, because my head and my body is blocking my arm. So as I come over, he doesn't see it till the last second, and you come straight down the middle. If his hands are up and he's blocking, it just comes through the middle, all right? These are things just to work on. We'll go over some grips where he's grabbing my arms, stuff like that. So a lot of times in guard, if you're punching, a guy will, you know, get wrist control. So when I feel this, right, I have a few options. I could just roll my wrist over the top and elbow. I want to aim for the top of his head or his eyes. It's the same thing, because if I elbow and he bridge, I'm going to fall short every time. If I aim for, you grab my wrist, if I aim for the top of his head and he bridges, I land on his chin. So you have to kind of throw your hips over the top to really land. So he grabs my wrist. If I feel it, grab on tight. It's really easy. You just roll your wrist and you elbow, right? Then I have the other option of grabbing a wrist, right? I just, with the C shape, I grab the wrist and I punch your elbow. You could do both sides, obviously. Punch, elbow, or grab and elbow, or punch. The next one is, if he grabs again, I could grab one wrist here, peel it off. Now I have control, and he's grabbing my arm with this one, and you have a free shot. Both sides, obviously. Grab and punch your elbow. So a lot of times guys will also get overhooks, or they'll control your head, whatever it is. Do both overhooks. When I'm here, you see it all the time. Guys are trying to lift, they're trying to get their arms out. It can be really hard. So I want to post on my toes, and I want to drive my skull into his chin. So when I'm here, I'm driving, and I'm controlling his chin line. So it's really hard for him to hip out and to move around well. So I'm controlling his chin line, and you want to make this hurt. So you want to put all the pressure in. So I'm gonna put a little pressure, right? So when I'm pushing hard, he starts to feel it, obviously, and he starts to loosen up. You can swim in and get your arms back. Obviously, the bottom player is always trying to control you, keep you from posturing. So when you're here, these little shots are good, but really you want to be here. I'm covering his hip line. I'm over his head. I don't want to get too far over past his sternum because then he could elevate me that way and dump me. So you want to have a good base, kind of like you're squatting and you're squeezing his legs. So you're controlling his hips, you're controlling his shoulder line with your arms, and from here you can punch. I love to use the rape choke. Obviously you can't grab the trachea, but you can grab his neck and pin him there and punch, elbow, whatever. These are just a few options that you can use. You got to play around with it, find what works for you. You should have a more successful ground and pound game. Don't forget to like and subscribe.